Today, I woke up to watch King express his strong emotions towards the EFF and ANC stances on land question. Historically, the ANC has never been a proponent of land expropriation. Check out this clip featuring King on his platform expressing his frustration.
Ladies and gentlemen, election time is just around the corner now. And I think it's time for us as Africans who are going to vote in South Africa to have an honest conversation about a coalition government. Are we happy with the EFF working with the ANC? Or would we rather have MK Party, Umkhonto weSizwe, working with the ANC? Or is it a bad idea for MK Party, the EFF, to just join hands and power with the ANC? What are we saying about the issue of the land? I want to speak about that in an interview of Andile Ncitama, who was interviewed by Sizwe Mpofu-Welch. A beautiful interview that has a lot of information in it. I want to break down what this election period actually means to us as Africans. I'm ready. Today I'm ready. I think we must decide. Someone on the comment section said something that left me baffled. He said, King, don't bother voting for the EFF. Don't bother voting for MK Party. Don't bother voting for the PA. Don't bother voting for AZAPO, the PAC, or ATM. Don't even bother voting for Rise Mzansi or Build One South Africa or Action SA. You are wasting your time. Vote for the ANC, because at the end of the day, all of those political parties will get into bed with the ANC to form a coalition government. When they said that in the first take, did not make sense. I thought to myself, what type of nonsense is this? But when I thought about it deeply, and with recent events happening, it looks like all the political parties, including the DA, are willing to go into negotiation with the ANC post the election after the results to see how they can form a coalition government. Now, the ANC, depending on the percentage they need, if the ANC is somewhere at 45%, the ANC will definitely go with the smaller parties, AZAPO, the PAC, ATM, Action SA. The ANC will pick those small ones because they will have leverage above them. But if the ANC is anywhere close to 40%, meaning 42%, 39%, 40%, 41%, they're going to need the DA, or they're going to need the EFF, or they're going to need Umkhonto weSizwe. The ANC will be spoiled with choice. Now, the question is then, do these political parties actually want the ANC out? Let me tell you something. No. These political parties don't want the ANC out. These political parties, most of them, when they speak, they want Cyril Ramaphosa out. Now, Andile Ncitama explains it very well when Sizwe Mpofu-Welch was interviewing him, that the problem is this Cyril Ramaphosa. The EFF has also said, listen, they can go into bed with the ANC, but a non-negotiable will be that Cyril Ramaphosa can't be president again. That's what the EFF said. Whether they will change their tune or not, we don't know. Whether Umkhonto weSizwe will change their tune or not, we don't know. Let's listen first to the comments of Andile Ncitama, one of the brightest thinkers here in South Africa in the political space. You know me, I consider Andile as a pure Pan-Africanist that does not shiver or beat around the bush when he's speaking about Pan-Africanism and being patriotic to black people. Listen to what he said.
I think Ramaphosa has been able to use this notion of accumulation through crisis. So there's been massive crisis in the state institutions. Take ESCOM, for instance, is a good example how they mess it up. And SAA, which they managed to sell. Accumulation through crisis is that you create a crisis to justify particularly privatization of state assets. So our people will also say load shedding, so much load shedding, it's fine, let's sell this thing. And then in this way, his friends would accumulate. He's made a lot of money for white capital, including the IPPs, independent power producers, where they talk about this new energy process, but it's part of the accumulation. So they mess up ESCOM with the hope that this private capital will come in and gobble up the whole system, and in this way will be beholden to private capital, just like they did in the healthcare system, which the public system, healthcare system, has been left to the rot, basically. And creating, therefore, in South Africa, two societies proper, like Mbeki was saying, that South Africa is a two-nation state, one black excluded poor and one white well taken care of, and with a tiny middle class, black middle class being absorbed into it. You know, Steve.
Now you heard from the EFF, you heard from, well, I can't say Mkhonto we Sizwe, but from Andile's point of view. The issue is this Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa has to go. I agree with that. But for me, I'm asking the fans, I'm asking the fighters, I'm asking the soldiers of Mkhonto we Sizwe, I'm asking the voters, if Cyril Ramaphosa is removed, would you be happy with EFF going in bed with the ANC? If Cyril Ramaphosa is removed, go on the comment section and type King if he's removed, sharp. Mkhonto we Sizwe, I'm asking you the same question. If Cyril Ramaphosa is removed from the ANC speaks to him on the side and say, hey, man, step aside, man. We want to work with Mkhonto we Sizwe, pull Paul Mashatile there, and maybe, I don't know, Jacob Zuma or whoever from Mkhonto we Sizwe as deputy president, and give them some portfolios. You know, there's 30 ministers, so they can make a plan, give them some portfolios. Would you be happy with Mkhonto we Sizwe working with the ANC? On the comment section, I want to hear what you're saying. Because let me tell you what is going on here. If you guys don't give the EFF majority, if you guys don't give Mkhonto we Sizwe and EFF and others the majority, then you are pushing these political parties to a coalition. And there I say, actually, all of you are anti-Cyril and not anti-ANC. If you are happy with Mkhonto we Sizwe or the EFF working with the ANC, with or without Cyril, listen to me, then you don't have actually a problem with the ANC. Then let's stop quoting this 30 wasted years. Let's stop quoting that, because the issue that you are having is with Cyril and not with the ANC. Say it like that. I'm now getting sick and tired of voters that don't know what they want. The reason I'm getting hyped like this is because the land issue. What are we saying about the land issue? Do you guys still want the land or not? Or you just want a functional working government? Just say it. Stop pressurizing these political parties in becoming pan-Africanists. Not everyone can be like King. You are pressurizing these political parties to want land from your colonizers. But the politicians don't want land, they want inclusion. They want to be included in the functionality of the economy. They don't want... Guys, do you want land or do you want jobs? If I put a land in front of you and I put a job in front of you, you as a black person, what will you choose? 90% of you will choose the job because you don't know what to do with the land. 90% of you don't know what to do with the land.
You can hear that the man is so frustrated. And now, let's watch this clip featuring former President Mandela clarifying the ANC's position on land, followed by Andile's analysis on the ANC's position from way back.
I just want us to play an insert on what Nelson Mandela had to say.
The ANC does not believe in socialism. We are a broad national movement which combines various strands of political thought, ranging from the far right to the extreme left, embracing liberal and conservative views. And if you study our basic policy document, the Freedom Charter, you will find that it is based on free enterprise. And the land, for example, there is no nationalization of the land. And the land is subject to individual ownership. And in actual fact, when the Freedom Charter is applied, when the provisions of the Freedom Charter are applied, capitalism amongst Africans will flourish as never before. I wrote an article in 1956 to this effect, to say private enterprise, when a democratic system is introduced, will flourish in this country as never before. And the only exception is a clause which calls for the nationalization of the mines, the financial institutions, and monopolies. That is done because of the conditions in the country. It's a clause which was actually adopted in the constitution of the present ruling National Party in the 40s. So there is nothing unique in that. There is no element of socialism in the policy of the ANC, whatever may happen in the future.
So what do you make of what Mandela had to say regarding the policies of the ANC and its tripartite alliance?
Yeah, I think President, in fact, the correct pronunciation even of his name is Mandela. I know that because Mandela, President is Mandela.
Okay.
Yeah, so President Mandela, he has a clip that, in fact, I've just seen recently. I didn't know about this clip, I must admit. The clip where he talks about the posture of the ANC on issues. That clip, it actually is a perfect portrayal of the ANC as a neoliberal organization. You can hear President Mandela himself, talking highly of capitalism and being categoric about not being a socialist organization, as it were. You can also hear him rubbishing basically the issue of the land as understood by all revolutionaries, and hear him talking more about private ownership of the land, stuff like that. This is when you realize that the South African Communist Party must accept that it has failed to influence the ANC towards their socialism agenda. And I don't understand why they're still in that alliance, because ever since they started with the ANC, they've never really succeeded to influence the ANC towards socialism, as it were. That's why we have this mess that we have now. Yeah, so indeed, if anybody wants to know as to which organization is best placed to take over the fight which our kings and queens in the 1800s, 1700s were fighting against colonialism. It's only the EFF. The EFF has got no, does not sympathize with imperialism. EFF is very clear about its issues around the land. And I think the important thing really about the EFF there, EFF is not even saying chase anybody away, no. It just simply says this is a God-given thing to everybody in South Africa. So therefore the state must be the custodian of this. And the utilization must be optimum. Utilization, if you're using it optimally, EFF is not going to bother you. But if you're using the land for just keeping it fallow, you're not using it, you just want to hit your chest that this is my land, then it must be taken and be put to best use for the country. So yeah, I think that clip must show South Africa that the time for the ANC should not even have started. In fact, I would argue that if we had time, I would go through the whole thing just to show you that, in fact, truth be told, the ANC was actually a scam. If you ask me, it was actually a scam, and it has actually delayed the transformation of this country. I mean, if you can look now, I mean, why would we have in the constitution of the country a cutoff in terms of issues around land distribution and restitution, where they put a cutoff date of 19 June 1913. Basically, the ANC has agreed that all the land that were robbed from 1652 until 19 June 1913, we must forget about that land. The only discussion starts from 1913, which were just a few farms here and there. So you can see that this organization's posture is a sellout organization. I mean, why would they in 1994 reverse even something that was progressive done by Verwoerd? You know, Verwoerd, with all his faults, but in 1961, Verwoerd got South Africa to be sovereign state, not to be part of the monarchy and everything. 1994, the ANC's first decision was to take us back into the clutches of the imperialism and join the Commonwealth. As we see it here and now, South Africa is a puppet state. You know, when the EFF in fact talks about our 2024 is our 1994, that statement is very deep and it's very important to really understand, because we would have thought that in 1994 we got political freedom and the EFF is going to bring economic freedom. No, the task for the EFF is bigger. We actually don't have even political freedom. ANC is in the political office. They are not in political power. No. If they had the power, they would have done a lot of things. They've got no power. They are in office. They get instructions from the establishment. They get instructions from somewhere. They're actually not in power. So the challenge for the EFF going forward is not only economic emancipation, it's political emancipation as well, so that political decisions can be taken. So that's really the situation that we find ourselves. So I think South Africa is lucky to have an organization like the EFF.
I saw you on the stage in an MK t-shirt recently. Of course, the BLF has pledged its support for MK party. It's the party everyone's talking about in this election. What do you think it represents, and why have you lent your support to the party?
Firstly, BLF has been in a very difficult position, particularly in terms of financial support. We're going to have a difficulty to contest these elections. But there's a historical affinity between ourselves and President Zuma. We're one of those who stood with him when everybody was saying Zuma must go. We said,
that's true.
No. Because we believe it was a big political and ideological mistake to attack him at that particular moment, because he was moving towards the left when he announced radical economic transformation, deepening relations with the BRICS process, talking about free education. He, in parliament, as sitting president, called for black political parties to unite to address the land question. And he attracted attack from Thabo Mbeki. Thabo Mbeki wrote a whole 30-page document saying that Zuma is being un-ANC for calling for black unity. At the time, I thought that Thabo is wrong, but actually Thabo is right. The ANC is not about blackness. The ANC is about non-racialism. And as soon as you say non-racialism, you can't just say black. So President Zuma reflects the ongoing contradiction side of the ANC, where black nationalism keep on rearing its head, and it's been hit on the head. So as black nationalists, we had a clear affinity with President Zuma because we saw where he was going. And that attack happens at the same time in Brazil. The same attack was happening. And as anti-imperialist people, we understood that it's significant that we should stand with him to oppose the imperialist attack on him. Of course, settler capital, mobilizing civil society, mobilizing opposition parties, even those in the left were leading in collaboration with the right wing. I mean, for me, that was a big, big disappointment to see people like Julius Malema, for instance, comfortable with the right wing in attack of President Zuma. We said, no, this is a big mistake. Zuma must be defended. And he started to articulate a much more radical position. That is the point where all the left groups should have gravitated towards him. So when he announced his move with Umkhonto weSizwe, we sighed a big sense of relief because he clarified and gave us a progressive option for these elections. And that's why our movement was quick to say, we are going to go with Umkhonto weSizwe.
And do you think that the MK party will remain coherent towards the election? And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the MK party being a real game changer in this election. Do you go along with that view?
Yes. There is the big opportunity, which is that MK will do well in the elections, and that will force and consolidate a left-wing move. Because as I see these elections, it's either a right-wing consolidation where the DA will collaborate with Cyril Ramaphosa, form a government, a right-wing government. Of course, that will be the end of the ANC, but that's a real possibility. On the left side, Umkhonto weSizwe could become the pole which consolidates some kind of a left consolidation. So these elections are clarification of the ideological space, in a sense, because the left wing has been confused. I mean, one time EFF is giving the DA political power. I mean, there's no consistent clarity of the left to understand what the central contradiction is in South Africa. It remains colonial, racist, white monopoly capital. Our enemy is Stellenbosch. So when we go into alliance with Stellenbosch against secondary contradiction, which is the ANC, it shows lack of ideological clarity about what the fight is about. So these elections might just help to clarify the ideological space where the right wing consolidates and the left wing also, on the other hand, it will be forced to consolidate for survival. And that is a good thing.
Why do you think it would be the end of the ANC to partner with the DA?
Because our people are going to be able to see that the ANC does not represent black interests. Because the big advantage the ANC has is the weight of history. Our people believe it represents the liberation movement that fought for freedom. But when it goes into bed like that with the DA, where probably Ramaphosa is the president, one of the DA leaders is the deputy president, the co-governing, that will be the end of the ANC.
Sure.
In the next election, the ANC will be less than 20% of the vote, I believe, once they move in this right-wing consolidated fashion with the Democratic Alliance. It's short-term gain, but long-term, it signifies the end of the ANC.
I remember you being one of the first people to raise the fact that if an opposition coalition came to power, we could have a white president from the DA running South Africa, and that would, you know, be a hugely symbolic moment in South Africa if 30 years after apartheid we would go back to a white president also coming from a particular ideological perspective, not a progressive white president from a radical party, but from a party that certainly has a history within the apartheid structure. Of course, its history is complex, and yes, there was parliamentary opposition and all of that, but the NP also merged with the DA. Even a deputy.
But that will be a more honest reflection of South African political reality. Because we are run by white power, as it is. But it's hiding behind this ANC, which our people still, sometimes I think about it like if your weapon has been captured by the enemy, but you still have emotional attachment to the weapon, which is now directed at you, which is exactly what happened with the ANC. ANC is properly captured by white capital. I mean, its articulation of policies, the fact that, for instance, they have created the condition for no land expropriation without compensation happening. It has been a political football, and in fact, in these elections, the land question has fallen off. It is out of fashion.
True.
It does not have the same political, currency that it had in the previous elections. And that is part of how the ANC has frustrated the process, watered it down, talking about nil compensation instead of land expropriation without compensation, a very clear statement which was needed. So if the ANC was to fall below 30%, then the DA will probably insist on having its own president. And in that situation, you will have a white president, which will be consistent with the 30 years of the ANC rule, which has been a rule for whiteness. That is why workers in Marikana were murdered like that, because they were black, and bullets of the state, of the ANC state, can be directed at blackness in that way. Just I think 2 days ago in Cape Town, there was a fire in the shacks there, and it killed 2 black people, and scores of others rendered homeless. 30 years of democracy, our people still live under such precarious existence. It just shows the massive failures of the ANC. But it's a big success for white capital. I mean, if you look at how much money white capital has made under the ANC government, it shows whose interests effectively are being served by the democratic order of the ANC. So a white president will be just symbolically a reflection of the reality which we have lived for the past 30 years.
They're not interested in taking on the ANC. Why aren't they campaigning in Limpopo and the Northwest Province? Why are they coming to the Western Cape? Why are they coming here to try and unseat the only government that created 300,000 jobs last year? Why are they coming here to the only government that arrested through its LEAP program over 27,000 criminals in the last year? Why are they coming here to an economy that's working, with schools that work, that give opportunities for more people, with public transport systems that work? Why here? Why not they focusing their attention on the real enemy of progress in South Africa, which is the ANC? And I've thought about this, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. It's because they know that there's nothing left to loot in the other 8 provinces. Alles is opgeëet. Daar's net geld hier in die Weskaap. The rest of the country is bankrupt. That's why they want to come to the Western Cape, because they want to get their hands on the budget and the money that's been well looked after by our government here under Alan Windey and his team in the Western Cape. And let me tell you, if they get that right, it's going to be the biggest bank heist you've ever seen.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it was Gayton Mackenzie himself who told us in one of the interviews to say he was approached to be given something like a few millions. I don't want to call a wrong number out. A few millions. They said, listen, here's some few millions. Do not campaign in the Western Cape. White private companies coming to Gayton and other black political parties to say, do not campaign in the Western Cape. Others, they say campaign, but do not put any effort. Take this much, but don't put any effort. Do not motivate your ground forces to run. Don't campaign. We need the Western Cape in the hands of the whites. And this John Steenhuisen young boy, low matric low, he is the one who is speaking the racist tone. I don't know if you are black, how can you not hear him? He is actually saying black parties must not campaign in the Western Cape. The Western Cape belongs to white people. The Western Cape is clean. We have files of Western Cape government stealing money. DA members stealing money in municipalities. They make it as if they are clean when they are governing only for white people in the Western Cape. The colours are forever living in an area where there is killings, there is poverty and everything. The black people are suffering in the Western Cape. But you are forgetting that, you black people who are voting for the DA. Something is wrong. There's something. Medicine diagnose it. That is what is happening. How can John Steenhuisen go scot-free for uttering such statement? The IEC said we need to be free and fair and be tolerant. He is saying, why are these other political parties campaigning in the Western Cape where there is white people? Why are they not campaigning in Mpumalanga, in Limpopo and Northwest? He then says they are stealing there. Here we are not stealing. That's what he was saying. But we are tolerating this as black people. We are tolerating this type of nonsense. And you want to tell me there's a black political party that will work with this boy? There's a black political party that can work with this boy? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this in my conclusion. Can you guys please forget about the land? There is no EFF that is going to give you the land. There is no ANC that is going to give you the land. I'm not sure how will MK give you the land. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say they're not going to give you, but I'm not sure if it's possible. I'm not sure, because even in a coalition government, the MK will need the EFF and other political parties. The ATM believes in South Africa belongs to everyone who lives in it. The EFF believes in South Africa belongs to everyone who lives in it, black, white, pink, green, yellow, LGBTQ, plus, whoever. So I'm not sure what is the stance of controversies when it comes to land and how they will deal with it. I will say this also. How political parties speak about their colonizers tells me if they are Pan-Africanist or not. When a political party speaks about the white colonizers, when they speak about land, when they speak about taking back the land, I can hear if they are Pan-Africanist or not. Because we have allowed these political parties to dilute the meaning of Pan-Africanism. They are no longer patriotic to African people. No longer. So it is with great sadness that I'm going to tell you guys, stop pressurizing these political parties with land, because number one, the citizens themselves are not ready for land. Some of you are not ready. Some of us, we know what to do with the land. We know how to farm. We know how to raise cattle. We know what to do with the land. But most of you actually just want a functional government. You want inclusion. You don't want ownership. You want to be included. A person says, "Resqueezing in, man. Resqueezing in. Sfageni nati." That's what you black people want. You no longer want what was rightfully yours back. You don't want it. Stop it pretending. Because you make people like us who are true Pan-Africanists, we look like monsters who want revenge and want to chase people to the sea and all. You make us look like that for wanting what is rightfully ours. for demanding what is rightfully ours. If you are not going to take that mine from that white company, if you are not going to take the mine from that white family, actually, what land are you expropriating? If you are not going to take the farm from that white family that has been farming there for 60 years plus, for 70 years plus, for 100 and something years, they've been staying in that land for more than 100 years. If you are not taking that land, which land are you expropriating? And again, my final thing about land expropriation without compensation, because they are now playing with us, they say the land will belong to the state. So the land was taken from black people by the white apartheid regime to white people. The Afrikaner owned the land. And then later you are telling me when the black government takes the land, it's going to keep the ownership and not give the ownership to black people. What nonsense is this? Why must we, when it's our turn to get our land back, we don't get it, the land must be in the hands of the state? Why? Why can't you give me my land? Because you want to make the white people happy. You don't want them to feel like you took it from them. You want to massage their feelings, to sacrifice us to massage the feelings of the white people. That's what you want to do. Just say it like that, man. Say it like that so that we can know your position when it comes to land. Stop pretending and playing with our feelings. Stop it. How? We're going to take the land from white people, but it will be state-owned. Hey man, state-owned. Are you going to give me the land or not? No, we're going to give it to you according to your needs. What needs? Is the land mine or not? That's the bottom line. Is it mine or not? A thief can't steal my car. And then the police goes and get the car, and when they got the car, they don't want to give it back to me. They are saying they will give it to me when I need the car. I must call them and come use the car. But after I'm done, I must take it back to the police station because the state owns the land. What nonsense is this? What type of future is our children going to have when they can't actually call a place home because the state owns the land? Which other African country can you give us an example that's doing this and it's working?
My fellow African brothers and sisters, you have heard King's frustrations, listened to Andile's analysis and his position on this matter, and then you were confronted with the leader of the DA's racist utterances, which remind me of Steve Biko's words, open quotes, "Black men, you are on your own," close quote. What is your take on this emotive land question? Do you agree with King's analysis of these political parties' failures? Should we simply accept the status quo, or do we as citizens have a final say on the 29th of May? Should we pursue the expropriation of land without compensation with all means necessary, if needs be? Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on this emotive debate. This is very important. Thank you for watching and take care.